Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up, come my way, and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story.
I've wanted to be an RVer since I was in my 20s. When I saw an RV, it was actually an old Chinook, if you may remember those. I fell in love with it, and that's where my love of RVing comes from, is back that far. I've been a pastor, though, a clergy for 44 years, and that doesn't lend itself very well to living in an RV, so I had to wait until I retired before that was possible.
It wasn't my lifelong dream to be in an RV, but since he was going, I thought I'd go along and make the best of it. And it's been very enjoyable. Before we left, I was a teacher. Most of that time I was a librarian in schools. I've worked in high schools and 3rd through 5th grade elementary school. And another little sideline I did while I was teaching was teach computer skills to 3rd through 5th graders, which is a hoot.
Okay, well, I'm largely semi-retired. Mostly retired and some semi. I'm a life coach. I have a number of clients that I work with. Life coaching is something that you work with people on the telephone, maybe on the computer, but mostly on the telephone, and I can do it from wherever I am, wherever I can get a cell phone signal. And so deal with several clients in coaching them about things, how to reach goals, how to set goals for themselves, how to determine what their life objectives are, like going RVing, and how do I make that become a reality. And so that's part of the income, and as retired people we also have pensions that help us fund it.
I haven't found what I'm going to be doing to help with income or any other thing, so I don't really have a direction that I'm headed in my life yet.
And although it's not part of income producing, we are volunteers with the American Red Cross. And that is something that takes some time that we put in. It's an investment on our part. We're also part of the escapees group, the Doves. And that means we may get sent somewhere in our RV to a disaster scene to be early responders to it. This is a 2012 Fleetwood Terra 34E. It's 34 foot, 34.2. And this is actually our second RV. We started out in a 27-foot Fleetwood Fiesta, no slides. Part of the attraction on this is it has a fairly substantial living room kitchen slide, plus it has a slide in the bedroom. After living in 27 feet, no slides, and the constrained space, sometimes this feels like lots of space. And that was a major part of it. Part of it is, to me, was the very layout of the coach. And it has a large storage pantry, much larger space than many have internally for a small coach.
What are some of the features that you like, Mary?
One of the things that I liked was that it was, well, 34 feet was the max I was going to tolerate. So I'm more of a basic person in terms of what I wanted, and this was about as extravagant as I was going to put up with this game.
Other features that I might mention in the coach that were a part of its attraction. There is in the front of the coach a bed that lowers down. It's up against the roof all the time until we actively lower it. It's on a motorized mechanism. It's a queen-size bed. It's kind of like a Class C in the way it has a bed over the driving compartment, except instead of just always being down, it's usually up and then it lowers down. So we have some grandchildren, and someday they may travel with us. Someday. I don't remember them having much reaction.
No, I think our kids didn't understand what we were really talking about. And so...
As the reality began to set in a little bit, our oldest daughter, I think, began to have some fears about what that meant for connection. And part of all of that might be it's worth understanding our family is 4 children who were adopted in 20 years ago when they were 5, 8, 10, and 14. And so they've already had lots of issues about transition in their life. And to suddenly have mom and dad kind of vanishing, at least in physical proximity from where they were, raised some anxieties. I think that she's at least begun to feel like we're in touch. We're a telephone call away, which is what we were anyway. One of the things I definitely would do differently is instead of going from we had a used coach that we bought, and it was a good starter coach. We liked it. But instead of making the move up to a brand new coach, I would have bought a gently used coach if I had to do it over again. We discovered that in a brand new coach there are lots of things that still need to be done to finish it. One of the service departments we were working with said, the factory relies on us to do the last 5 to 10% of the construction work. Just plainly and clearly. And that's right. There were things that were misaligned, that quality control just wasn't there, and people had to go through. For example, the shower, maybe this happened in transit, but the first night we went to take a shower, water was leaking all over the place because the drain was no longer attached to the shower stall. Was it never attached, or did it shake loose as it traveled from factory to where we got it? I don't know. But something was clearly wrong.
Do you think would be things that were my interests in life, like gardening? So I would have to give up my choice of gardening. I had a couple volunteer places that I was getting attached to, and I had to give that up, and I didn't know what I was going to replace that facet of my life with. I knew we'd be able to be in touch with the kids, so that wasn't a problem. And I wasn't that devastated by having to give up family gatherings and Thanksgivings like a lot of people are. But it was mostly just most of the things I was interested in required being in a fixed space. But I've managed to get over it. Some of it was just I still haven't found a garden. So that I don't think I'm going to be able to. My flower pot outside doesn't work as my garden.
Number one, don't put it off. If you want to do it, do it. There's no need of waiting. I waited till I retired, partly because of profession, but I wish I'd been doing it a long time before. It would have been great. Read everything you can from people who are already doing it. Follow the blogs like the blog you have, and there are several other good ones out there. Lots of things that people who are already doing it provide information. I've been reading blogs for 3 or 4 years now.
Have fun.
It's a great life. I love it.
Like the rising of the sun, straight up flying through the troubles laid before me. Can't you feel